Welcome. Happy December. This is the Law Library Advisory Committee meeting. Everyone received an agenda and the minutes from our last meeting. Is there anyone that needs that emailed to them now? I am Erica Tendall. I'm the presiding judge of the Reed Family Trial docket here in town, and this is my second year. COVID, I have years. My third year on advisory committee, and welcome to everyone. I don't believe we have new members. If we do, if I've missed someone, if you're brand new to the group, let me know or send me a chat. Everyone has been. You're new? Yes. Jordan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi all, my name is Jordan Jefferson and I am the director of the Quinnipiac Law, or the Linnell Pantalena Law Library at Quinnipiac School of Law.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Anyone else that's new?
Bill Clark.
You're new, Judge Clark?
Yes, I am new. It's my first meeting, Judge Tindall. I am Judge William Clark. Happy to be aboard.
And you're sitting in Stamford?
I am sitting civil in Bridgeport now, Judge Tindall.
Ah, okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Does that do it for our new members? Okay, take a moment. I hope you've had an opportunity to take a look at the meetings, the minutes from our November 5th, 2021 meeting.
Hello, I apologize. Back in here. Hi, it's Lisa Egan.
Oh, hi, Judge Egan. Are you?
How are
new to the
you?
group?
Yes,
Good.
I am.
Oh, okay. Where are you
Nice
sitting?
to see you. I'm in New Haven family.
You're still in New Haven. Okay. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So draft minutes were sent out November 17th by
Yes.
Claudia. Any edits to those minutes? Additions, corrections?
No, I had them up a minute ago. And
Would be 2 pages.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Eamon Wisniewski.
All right, there's a motion.
Motion is seconded, Judge Pearson.
Okay, great. Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any
Aye.
objections? Any abstentions? Okay, excellent. Motion carries. The November 5th, 2021 meeting minutes are approved. I think maybe that feedback is coming from whoever's not speaking. If you could just mute yourself, that might help with the feedback there. All right.
Attorney
Claudia?
Clendenin, I'm sorry, Judge Tindall, but it was Attorney Clendenin who was not muted. I just wanted to make sure he's got it. Thank you.
He just threw you right under the bus. Okay.
I did.
Guilty.
Very good. And now we will hear from Deputy Director Claudia Jolauka. Oh, you're muted.
I was trying to be helpful and stay muted, and now I left it too long. Thank you, Judge Tindall. I just want to let everyone know it's been a bit since the last meeting occurred, and so the report is going to be a little bit long, but I wanted to share with you everything that has been happening since the last meeting in the libraries. And I did want to mention that the Law Library Services Biennial Report has been posted to the website, the Law Librarian's website, at the beginning of the month. And I encourage you to review that report at your convenience. I'm very proud of all the librarians and what they've accomplished these past 2 years, and I hope you will be also. You will note in the report the continued shift to the remote reference services. This includes both the Law Library Services Ask a Librarian email reference and the live chat service and the Judicial Branch's feedback email service. We have seen an increasing number of patrons, especially those in the legal profession, choosing to engage with the librarians either via these chat services or directly emailing the law librarians. And it's noteworthy to notice that not only has the volume of remote increased, but the complexity of the questions that we're receiving has increased. We have many more users that return for follow-up questions and quite a few that sort of stay with us through their whole legal matter before the court. I wanted to go over staffing next, and I would like to start by introducing to the board the Law Library Services Administrative Team. The administrative team is located in Judge Support Services offices in Hartford, and it constitutes myself and the 2 supervising law librarians. And those supervisors are Jeffrey Dowd, who is with us right now. Jeff oversees 6 libraries and the Law Library Services website, along with many other services committees and responsibilities. Jeff is a member of the Judicial Branch Web Board and co-chair on the Judicial Branch Access to Justice Commission's Librarian Work Group. The other supervisor is Christopher Roy, who's also with us. Chris oversees 6 libraries and manages the electronic research resources for the law library systems and the Superior Court, along with many other services committees and responsibilities. Chris is a member of the Judicial Branch Access to Justice Commission's Law Librarian Work Group and is an instructor for the work group's hands-on legal reference for public librarians. He is also chair of the Law Library Services Highly Valued Legal Research Guide Committee, which produces all of those wonderful legal research guides on our website. Both Jeff and Chris are engaged in oversight of the remote services and in training and outreach on behalf of the law libraries and the Superior Court. As to staffing levels, since the last advisory committee meeting, there have been 2 staff retirements. In February 28th of 2022, Ann Doherty, our prior deputy director, retired after 25 years with Law Library Services, 10 of those years as the deputy director. Due to the pandemic, Ann's send-off was a little bit muted, but very heartfelt, and we were able to hold a gathering of staff via Teams to wish her well, and then open up that gathering to other judicial personnel. And on June 30th of 2023, George Tony Booth retired from his position as law librarian for the Danbury Judicial District. Tony spent 11 years in the Danbury Law Library, and prior to that, he was in the Waterbury and then the New Britain Law Libraries. There have been 2 position changes within the staff. Supervising law librarian Claudia Jaloka, me, was promoted to the position of deputy director on August 12th, 2022. And New Britain law librarian Christopher Roy was promoted to the position of supervising law librarian on December 2nd, 2022. The Law Library Services has added 5 new librarians. They are Danielle Bean in New Haven, Emily Berardino in New Britain, Anna Dauphiny in Bridgeport, Rebecca Greenlee in Danbury, and Molly Steinmetz in Stamford. With these additions, the current staffing of the unit consists of the deputy director, the 2 supervisors, and 16 librarians in the libraries, for a total of 20 law librarians, and this level of staffing has not been seen since September of 2011. As to our budget, In April of both 2022 and 2023, the Law Library Services Unit submitted projections for FY 2023 and 2024 respectively. Each library and the administrative office prepared the projections based on prior year's allocations and expenditures for print materials and electronic services, calculating in contractual obligations and anticipated increases. Each year saw a modest increase in our budget. It is important to note that the legal publishing world is constantly changing as vendors strive to increase their profits while lowering their expenses. And while this approach has been in place for many years, two major changes that have a dramatic effect on our libraries are prominent this year. First, vendors began notifying us in the spring to expect higher than usual price increases for the coming year. This is being borne out with pricing increases that are running 20 to 30% on average above last year. Vendors are also seeking to move materials to strictly online format, discontinuing the print format of the material. The best example of this currently is Wolters Kluwer, who, to facilitate this move, is discontinuing publishing indexes and tables in their publications, thereby forcing libraries to purchase this material through their online services. An overview of the status of the libraries at this time. The Law Library Services collaborated with the Materials Management Unit in a review and negotiation for a renewal of the Patron Access Westlaw contract. The new contract, which began November 1st, 2022, with a 1% increase from the prior contract, is for 3 years with an annual increase of 1% each year of the contract. Following assessment and negotiations, the Law Library Services made the recommendation to the Materials Management, Financial Services, and Legal Services units to enter into an agreement with Wolters Kluwer for a subscription to the Vital Law platform. The subscription brings electronic access to many of the titles published by Wolters Kluwer and its subsidiaries, to which the law libraries subscribe. This access is available to both internal Superior Court researchers and to public patrons accessing our libraries. In November of 2022, a new Law Library Management, or LMA, was signed between the Law Library Services and Thomson Reuters Publishing, better known as West. It was a 5-year agreement. On June 22nd, 2022, the Bridgeport Law Library reopened after completion of the roofing repairs, which had begun back in August of 2021. In May 2022, new flooring was installed in the mezzanine level of that library. The Law Library Services administrative team worked with the Materials Management Unit to develop a new tracking system for titles removed from the law libraries to better facilitate materials management tracking of inventory for insurance purposes. The supervising law librarians developed a new standardized check-in ledger that commenced use in March 2023. This new ledger incorporates the judicial branch inventory requirements requested by Materials Management and brings standardization and accuracy to the acquisition controls in the law libraries. The standardized spreadsheet allows for filtering and streamlines the process for creating reports. The supervisors then provided training to all staff on use of the new ledger for checking in. And Chris also created a short video on the new check-in system for future reference. And in June 2023, the supervisors, Chris Roy and Jeff Dowd, presented ledger training for all law librarian staff to review the standardized ledgers, thereby ensuring that staff, new and existing, understand the ledger expectations. And this review has resulted in fewer errors in record keeping and reconciliation of the financial ledgers. Some of the activities that the librarians have been involved in. The law librarians continue to be active and engaged in outreach to the public both directly and through the public librarians, the legal community, and to the judges and staff of the judicial branch itself. As mentioned before, Chris Roy, who is a member of the judicial branch's Access to Justice Commission Librarian Work Group, provided 3 hands-on legal reference for the public librarian programs through the Connecticut State Library, along with Anne Rogette from the University of Connecticut School of Law and Cheryl Halford, the Deputy Director of Legal Research. The programs were held in February of 2022, and then again in June and September of 2023. Supervising law librarians Jeff Dowd and myself in February and October of 2022, and then Jeff and Chris Roy in October of 2023, provided an overview of the law library services to self-represented parties and access to justice to the University of Connecticut School of Law's Access to Justice classes. At the end of March 2022, the unit reported out its first quarter using the newly revised statistics reporting. The new statistics place additional emphasis on resources utilized by staff when responding to remote reference queries. And this will allow us to better understand the resources required for providing reference services remotely. Supervising librarian Jeff Dowd, as we've stated, is a member of the Judicial Branch Web Board and is co-chair of the Access to Justice Commission's Work Group for Librarians. And as a member of both of those, Jeff has been working on creating a service matrix for the Judicial Branch website. He also continues to work on the public service announcement for the work group. On April 29th in 2022, Jeff Dowd and I, together with Christopher Roy and Michael Beetham from the New Haven Law Library and Taryn Agati from the Torrington Law Library, conducted a pre-bench presentation, providing the newly appointed 2022 Superior Court judges and family support magistrates with information about the Law Library Services Unit and the library services and resources available to them. In May of 2023, Chris, Jeff, along with Michael Beetham, provided this presentation again to the 2023 class of judges and family support magistrates. Between August and October of 2022, Chris Roy and Mike Beetham conducted 4 orientation trainings for the incoming term clerks via Teams. They provided this orientation again for the 2023 class clerks between July and October of this year. And on September 23rd, 2022, Chris and Mike provided orientation training for the incoming Supreme and Appellate Court clerks via Teams. And this training was provided again this September 21st by Mike Beetham and Taryn Agati. In October of 2022, a professor from Wesleyan requested to have her Citizen Judges, Juries, Who Decides in Democracy class visit the Middletown Law Library. She requested a presentation about the law library and court records. Middletown Law Librarian Karen Townsend and Rockville Law Librarian Emily Omano prepared and provided the 45-minute presentation on the records and library services under the direction of Jeff Dowd. In January of 23, we received an invitation from the co-chairs of the Connecticut Library Association's Reference and Adult Services section to present a program at the CLA annual meeting on May 2nd. The program was about the judicial branch law libraries in general and how we assist people and public librarians. Emily Omano from Rockville and Anna Dauphine, a law librarian in Bridgeport, presented the program Navigating the Law Library Services Unit, Connecticut Judicial Branch at the association's meeting in Groton. Chris Roy oversaw the program and was present to answer questions. On March 6 of 2023, upon request, Hartford Law Librarian Sean Carey, with the Hartford Librarian Chris Roy, presented a training session for the new staff of the Family Clerk's Office in the Hartford JD. On March 15th of 2023, I was a panelist on the program, The Law Library of the Future, during the NELCO 2023 Annual Symposium. The program envisioned the law library of 2050, and I provided the perspective of a court library. Several staff members attended various programs and roundtables over that 5-day symposium. The Connecticut State Library Division of Library Development in May of this year invited Astoria Ridley, law librarian in New Haven, to participate on their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Accountability Team and to review the draft of their diversity plan. Emily Almano of Rockville was invited to join the NELCO Continuing Education Committee. It is a 2-year appointment ending in July 2025. Jeff Dowd participated in a call center orientation for new employees in September of this year. He presented on the law library services and resources that are available. Other presentations to this particular orientation were provided in January, March, and May of this year. And as of this year, 8 librarians have completed either the Supervisory Employee Education and Development Program or the Leadership Employee Education and Development Program. And the 3 members of the administrative team have completed both programs. The activities of our committees include the Education, Training, and Subcommittee, where on June 9th, 2022, we had the unit's annual staff development meeting via Teams. The program was on the Centralized Infraction Bureau, presented by Stacy Manware, Deputy Director of the Centralized Services. The presentation was followed by 3 roundtable discussions on current matters comprising remote services, post-COVID reopening and stress, and professional development opportunities. On October 18th, 2022, the librarians participated via Teams in the Employee Education and Development Unit's MBTI, Unlocking the Power of a Team. This was a meaningful team building program which staff found both enlightening and fun. On May 3rd, 2023, the committee coordinated a program via Teams on working with patrons with mental health, which was presented by Margaret O'Hagan Lynch of the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. The staff was engaged during this program, and Ms. O'Hagan Lynch responded to questions by the staff. The 2023 annual staff development meeting was held on June 8th via Teams. Alexandra Gitness from the Office of Victim Services and Vanessa Torres from the Office of the Victim Advocate spoke. Each presented an overview of services provided by their organization and then responded to questions from staff. This program was followed by a short gathering for staff to say goodbye to Danbury Law Librarian Tony Booth. On October 30th this year, the committee coordinated an in-person training program entitled Introduction to Criminal Procedure, presented by Supervisory Assistant State's Attorney John Lyon. And on November 9th, the committee coordinated tours of both the Connecticut State Library and the Connecticut Legislative Law Library for staff who have started after 2012. Librarians were able to learn about the collections and services of those other libraries and establish those personal connections with their librarians. The goal was a better understanding of how the 3 libraries work together. From the Marketing Committee in March of 2022, the 2022 Law Day posters were designed by the Marketing Committee, and the branch's graphic artists were distributed. The year's theme was Towards a More Perfect Union, the Constitution in Times of Change, and featured an image of the Constitution. The copies were distributed to all libraries and clerk's offices. And in April of this year, the 2023 Law Day posters were distributed. This year's poster featured a red, white, and blue theme and recognized the 65th anniversary of Law Day. In June of 2022, the committee added a new dose to the collection on the website. The new dose is entitled Samuel Huntington, July 16, 1731 to January 5th, 1796, the first President of the United States. And in September 2022, the 2023 Law Library Services calendars were released. They were distributed to the clerk's offices and other judicial departments. And several libraries also provided copies to judges along with a welcome letter as they were newly assigned to their judicial districts. In November of this year, the 2024 calendars were released and were distributed in a similar manner. The Marketing Committee has initiated a new program for outreach to public librarians. Beginning in fiscal year 2024 on a quarterly basis, the committee will post to the Connecticut Librarian Listserv called Contact information about specific services or resources available in or from our libraries that can assist public librarians in providing legal reference services to their patrons, especially during evening and weekend hours when our libraries are not open. The first posting was sent on September 1st. And the Employee and Education Development Unit requested to include the dose on witches and witchcraft in their October 2023 featured resource series. From the new Attorney Committee, the new Attorney Program Committee, the committee adopted elements of the Connecticut Legal Research and Courthouse Resources for New and Experienced Attorneys, a program, into a presentation for newly hired law librarians. The new program focuses on the Connecticut bibliography scenarios and the primary sources covered in the Connecticut Legal Research and Judicial Law Libraries Services part of the program. This program is presented by Mary Ann Kravicki, a law librarian in Bridgeport, and Tara Nagati. The Outreach and Training Committee has posted 2 revised videos to the Law Library's website. The videos are Browsing the Connecticut General Statutes and Searching Connecticut Statutes. And the committee chair, Emily Omano, worked with the Information Technology Division's training unit to develop a training session on the use of PowerPoint to create instructional and informational videos. Also included in this training was how to record and edit audio in Audacity and import it into a PowerPoint video. Members of this committee and the Self-Represented Info Committee attended the resultant training sessions in October and November. The training that was developed will now become part of the ITD course catalog and will be available to all judicial personnel. The Cataloging Committee in March of 2023 launched Part 2B of the NOLO Catalog Conversion Series project. And in this phase, all the libraries moved all NOLO holdings to serial holdings. In April of 2023, the conversion of the Understanding series commenced and was completed in June. In July, the conversion of the NCLC series was commenced and was done in September. In August, the conversion of the Nutshell series commenced, and it is still ongoing at this time. The Newslog Committee reports that as of the end of fiscal year 2023, the Newslog has 875 active subscribers. This is a gain of 75 subscribers over the prior fiscal year. From the Training Subcommittee, in September of this year, the Training Subcommittee wrote a user manual for the new Vital Law application for institutional users. The newly created manual was then amended to create a manual for use with the public access version of the application on the eResearch portal. The committee also provided training to all law librarians on the use of the application on September 27th and 28th. From the Self-Represented Info Committee, in January of 2022, the video for filling out and filing an appearance form was revised and reposted upon request from the branch's form manager. In August of 2022, a new video entitled Motions to Open a Judgment was posted. And in January of 2023, the Self-Represented Parties Information Series Committee renamed the committee the Self-Represented Info Committee. The point was to shorten the name and to create one that was easier for people to understand and remember. The committee elected to use the abbreviation of info for information to modernize the name. And then lastly, from the webpage committee, in January of 2023, the committee engaged in a process to redesign the Representing Yourself page. The impetus of this was to make the information found on the Self-Represented Info Committee's page easier to find. The redesign brings the information from that older Self-Represented Info Committee's page to the very front of the new Representing Yourself page. And that is my very long report. Judge
That's what
Tyndall?
happens when 2 years go by. It's not you. I have, I want to start out by asking, you said at the very beginning where this report can be found. Can you just say that again?
Sure. It's on our website. When you go to the front page, there's across the top menu, there's one that says About Us. And when you click on that, you will see through the drop-down listing the annual report listed there.
Now you're talking
And
about so I went
Law
to the state of-
Library Services homepage.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So if
Okay.
you start at the Judicial Branch homepage,
Yeah,
look for the law libraries on the left menu,
okay.
and then click the drop-down and head to the front page, the homepage.
Actually, let me do this. Let's see if I
Would
can
you like me to
the
share my screen and show you?
Am I sharing now?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
Okay.
so I
Scroll.
went to here, Law Library.
Just below where it says Law Library Services on the top banner. Whoops, scroll back up. You see there's the little home. Whoops. It's dropped off the screen again. Okay. Above Tony, above the picture in the center,
Yeah.
there's a dark menu bar.
Oh, I see.
And the one that says Our Libraries. So if you click that, and then down at the bottom is the 2021, 2022, 2022, 23 annual
Right.
report.
Okay, great. And it's 28 pages. Nice summary, Claudia. Okay, I will stop sharing my screen. So I wanted to make sure people were able to find that. I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
What does NELCO stand for?
NELCO actually doesn't stand for anything anymore. It was a recognized acronym, so it was kept. Originally, it stood for the New England Law Library Consortium. It is now not only national, but has some international associate members or affiliates. But they kept it because it was a known acronym, but it really has no meaning. Jordan or Jessica, if you have any other info on the history of that, please feel free to share it.
No, I thought it was New England Library something. I just was curious because you mentioned that you
Yeah,
were
New
doing
England
NELCO.
Law Library
Okay.
Consortium. Luckily, our library is one of the few state entity, government entities that was a founding member of, or founding member of that group. So
Okay.
we've kept that up. It's very important to us.
The budget that you mentioned, you said you were told by providers that to expect a 20 to 30% on average increase. Was that
Correct.
specific publishers or across the board?
It was across the board.
Across the board. And I'm sure you
Yes.
found that to be true.
Yes, that's the scary part, is it is true. And generally, just so you're aware, legal prices have always been high. They usually run between 10 and 15%, with 12% about average. So this really is kind of a shock. Some of them are almost double the usual increase.
But that hasn't, it sounds like the modest increases in the budget that you mentioned have accounted for that inflation?
Not 100%, to be honest. They keep us from having a large drop back, but the increases were not quite enough, especially this last year, to cover exactly a flat budget, if you would.
Okay. Is there anything the committee should be concerned about in that regard? Is there anything we can be helpful with?
I would certainly let you know at some point if it is. We do have a great relationship with the budget unit and such, and they have been very responsive to us. So I'm certain if we start running into problems, we will certainly let you know, but they have been responsive when we've gone to them with requests.
Okay. And it sounds like staffing is the best it's been since you said 2011?
2011 was the last time we had staffing of this level.
Okay, and I do want to make just 2 comments about staffing. Number 1, Christopher Roy is a rock star trainer. If you need Westlaw training, or any sort of library resource, he did a training for me, and it was wonderful. So I really appreciate that, and I encourage you, if you need that, specifically any sort of legal resources, he's really fantastic, and he'll do it remotely. The other thing I wanted to bring to the committee's attention is that there were kudos in the judges may be aware of this. There was the water cooler newsletter that was sent out by Judge Bizzuto. At the end, there's a section on comments about, various judicial branch staff. And there was from an attorney who was a library patron that said, this is the December issue, so I don't know exactly when this was submitted. The person said, I don't write letters like this too often, but I feel it's necessary here. Your law libraries, your librarians, and the info you supply on the judicial's website. I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out. It's all amazing in every respect. I'm so thankful for all that you do. Recently, I needed to delve into some esoteric areas of the law for a memo I was writing. The law libraries and your internet site made the process of researching much easier. Thank you for all you do. And I just wanted to mention that, especially since in your report you talked about the various activities of staff and your increasing outreach to the public. And we are seeing results from that. So I wanted the committee to be aware of that. And thank you to all the librarians that work really hard to be accessible and make sure that all the information is accessible to the public and practitioners and judges and everyone. It doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you.
Lastly, I wanted to ask about that law library of 2050. Do you envision it as being all digital? And with AI boots or something?
AI was actually one of the reasons I think this was suggested and held. For the public law library, probably not all digital. I think quite a bit will be. My comments during that particular panel was that hopefully publishers will keep some print, because with self-represented parties, as you are aware yourself, many of them cannot use electronic material for many reasons. And print is what they need to hold in their hand in order to read and comprehend. So our hope is print is there. Many of them also have a very hard time structuring and understanding online. My fear with AI, I don't fear AI, but one of the problems that could occur with it is AI will be wonderful when it is applied to a sort of set of data. So when Westlaw and Lexis fully integrate and make available to our level of law library an AI platform, it will certainly be quite usable. The concern is with AI in general out in wider places like ChatGPT, where it's just gathering from everything that's available on the web. I already had one patron come into a library with a printout from ChatGPT, which told him what to look at for his query. And as much as I tried to guide him to another resource, which would actually answer his question exactly on point, he refused to look at it because ChatGPT had told him to look at these other items. So I am not fearful, but a little bit wary of where AI may take us. But certainly in 2050, I think we will still have some print. I do see, though, the predominant amount of material being electronic, and the librarians being necessary to be the intermediary for those individuals that cannot utilize the electronic themselves.
Mhm. Questions from committee members about any aspect of the report?
Judge, can I ask a question, please? It's Bill Clendenin. How are you?
Of course.
It's a question and maybe a suggestion for new business. I was intrigued by the comments about the increase in the patronage and the fact that you're seeing as patrons lawyers. And in my experience in talking to lawyers on the street, it seems this increase in not only the complexity of the electronic research, but also the cost to small firms, let's say firms 10 and under, and solos has just been driven astronomically high. So what I was wondering is if you have any, or if the library system has any recent data showing that increase in the patronage among the bar members, and how much, if any of that, is being driven by one, the complexities, and more importantly, by the costs. Because when I look at my Westlaw bill, I want to get sick. And we need that for the kind of work that we do. We need to have that ready access and all. But I just would like to know if you have any current data to show this shift as you were beginning to describe.
What we were seeing was a decrease in, if you could just mute your thing for a minute, because I'm getting a lot of feedback. Thank you. We were seeing an increase in legal professionals, which include the attorneys and paralegals and such. And I don't have hard numbers. A lot of that comes out of our statistics, and which are somewhat anecdotal. I would not have any information on cost for you, because when vendors negotiate with every entity, it is rather between them and that entity. So I can comment on our prices, but I would have no way of knowing what the prices are for private entities and how that might be driving their coming to us.
Well, you could take my word for it that it is outrageous, and it's not stopping. So what you're experiencing, I have a small firm, and it's just going through the roof. And what I was going to suggest, because we've done this over the years, this committee has been very good at it, is maybe to partner, say, with the Connecticut Bar Association, something, to design a survey, because what I'm thinking is this is going to accelerate in my judgment. It's begun, and it's going to happen faster and faster, that the smaller firms and the solos are going to be relying on the library services increasingly, which will put other strains on your provision of services. So I'm wondering if, I don't know if anybody else thinks this way, but whether it would make sense to have your group develop a survey, both of the patrons as they're using it, but also to collaborate, say, with the Connecticut Bar Association, maybe some of the affinity bars, to have them send a survey that you would design out and see what the lawyers think. Because 5 years from now, I don't think, based on my experience, we're going to recognize what we're looking at in terms of the provision of services. But trust me, what they're doing in the private sector in terms of cost makes your stuff seem cheap.
So can everyone see I'm sharing the screen? And this is from the report that you can look up. Now, it looks like from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, here, I'll make it a little bigger. The usage by type, I mean, I would imagine some of this self-represented party, maybe less than that, but in this 14% by the public, there could be some attorneys, would be my guess, maybe. But it looks like the blue section is the 21%. That's for that year. And then On the next page, which is July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 23, the attorney usage has gone up by 2% just in that year. And just for that blue category of attorneys, everything went up by 2%. Yeah, everything went up. So you can take a look at that. I know that doesn't directly answer your question about
The question is planning. I mean, I unless I'm hallucinating, I think it's going to increase because when you talk to, once again, small firm, and it may even be mid-sized firm, but small firms and solos, the expense pressures on them, not just the research, are extreme. And so when I'm, I guess, wondering if anybody shares my thoughts, is that maybe we should be planning for 5 years. So maybe it won't be a 2% increase, but a 10% or 15 or 20. That's my only interest, having watched all these changes from paper to paper and electronic and more electronic. I leave that to the committee, but it's my thought because I feel that that's part of what I'm supposed to do is represent those lawyers in this process. Thank you very much for listening.
Judge Tyndall, if I could just mention to address that question or statement a little bit. It's important to keep in mind that the law librarians, we are always here to help attorneys with their research, but we cannot do it fully for them. But I strongly encourage you, and we can work on more outreach to let the bar know that if they come into the libraries, we have the Patron Access Lexis, we have the Patron Access Westlaw, which they can use, and we now have the new VitalLaw platform. VitalLaw is secondary resource only. It's not primary, but it's some of those key analytical sources that can then move you into the primary. So certainly we will acknowledge we can do a better job of reaching out to the bar and letting them know that those online services are in our libraries. Unfortunately, those contracts do not allow for remote access. So you do have to physically be in our facility for the access, but it is there.
Well, my thought is you're doing a terrific job, so don't take this as any criticism. But you were saying that your budget, and I'm worried about the budget, what's going to happen if you have increased demand for services and you've got a flat budget and prices continue to go up? I mean, it's almost like a death spiral. And my view is we as a committee, or you as the person in charge, should not be blindsided by that if in 2026, 2027, all of a sudden, my God, it's not just a little shortfall, but a big one. And we may not always enjoy the luxury of these budget surpluses. Thank you. I don't mean to talk too much.
Thank you.
Judge Egan?
To that point, may we possibly, if somebody asks to use a terminal, if they log in, if we just keep track for tracking purposes, who's an attorney, if we saw a significantly increased trend, we could consider down the road, if it warranted it, a modest user fee for the firms. You know, say our costs went up exponentially because firms were staying for 2-3 hours on a particular terminal, and if our costs are based on a level of usage, I don't know if that's how it's done, and we saw that small firms were coming in for a long period of time, solos were, which maybe that's a good thing because we want lawyers to do research. We don't want a solo to just, wing it, right? So it's meant for them to come in, but
right, to chat GPT.
Right. So you can track that, but we have to track it. So I think it's the point that we'd have to know without having them swipe in, I'm an attorney, I'm a member of the public, whatever. You'd have to have a way of tracking that to begin with, maybe when they use the terminal.
So we might be getting ahead of ourselves. I think it's a great idea I will work with Claudia to see how we can, to look into those numbers that are in the report, the 2% increase. Are members of the public, is there a way to track attorney usage? What does that look like? What are they, leaning towards? A survey is a great idea. So in terms of new business, I will certainly talk with Claudia and the librarians about that and see if we can at least get a sense of what that is looking like. I think the concern is the 5-year projection. If we, we expect usage by all constituents probably to increase, what will that mean for a budget in the future? We can certainly start with tracking that. I thought I saw another hand. Yes, Jessica.
Claudia, this is more of a suggestion or a consideration, and Jordan will probably also agree with me that this is something that we face in academia as well, with because a flat budget is a cut budget. And so I was wondering if you had an opportunity to negotiate with the vendors in the same ways that we're able to try and lock in multi-year deals, even if you don't necessarily encumber the funds in that fiscal year, that you'd be able to freeze rates, for a significant amount of time. So then that way you can plan. But that's something I know that I've had to do here at UConn, and we do that both with our patron access as well as our overall subscription to our students. I'm not sure what Jordan does with the Pantalina Law Library, but I'm assuming it's the same thing.
Yes, all of our contracts for the onlines are multi-year. Generally 3 to 5%. We follow whatever the dictate of materials management is at that time. Sometimes the branch likes longer, sometimes they like the slightly shorter ones, but about 3 years is the smallest we do. The LMA we just re-upped was a 5-year. The Vital Law we just signed is a 3-year. We are signing currently another Westlaw coming up shortly, and that will probably be another 3 years. So we do those multi-years. Yes.
Other questions, comments about the report? All right, we will add attorney usage and projected cost to new business. Any other, let me pull up my agenda. Okay, other comments on the report, questions about that? Any other new business?
No.
All right. Let's think about our next meeting date. We'll try to do that before 2 years pass by. Claudia and I were discussing perhaps spring. So March, April-ish. I presume that people like doing this remotely and on a Friday afternoon. That works?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
fine.
January, February, March. What about Friday, March 5th? Let me look at my handy dandy law library calendar where I can figure out what the holidays are. Yeah. Friday, April 5th work for people?
March doesn't have a 5th. It has the 1st or the 8th or the 15th.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong year. Sorry. I'm looking at 23.
I'm going to be out of state at a bar meeting on the 8th, but the 1st or the 15th work for me. Not that I'm not important, but I just either the 1st or the 15th would be better for me.
Of March, 15th of March?
15th of March is better than the 8th because I will not be in state.
Okay. Do you think that's too soon, Claudia? March 15th?
You may want to consider if we do 6 months, we'll come down more towards April or beginning of May, but it is your choice. I just was thinking if you want to do a 6-month span, pushing it a little.
What about May 10th, Friday, May 10th?
Okay.
I think I'm in the country and available. Does that work for people?
Fine.
Yes.
Yes?
Claudia, I just want you to know that Barbara Hoffman, I've been here. I had to join you by the phone because I'm in Massachusetts and I could not go down.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So we will send out notice for, what did I say? What date did I just say?
May
7th?
10th.
10th. May 10th, 2 p.m. remote meeting. And we'll go from there. Good?
Wow.
Okay. Excellent.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
All right. Any seconds?
Second.
Attorney Clendon, second. All right.
Thank you.
very
Nice
good.
to meet everyone.
We are adjourned. Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Hey, go
right.
on, nice weekend.
Claudia, I'll be in touch about the attorney stuff.
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.